Call to order at 7 p.m. the monthly board meeting of Lakeview Fire Protection District. Roll call, please.
Doug,
Here.
Mike,
Here.
Paul,
Here.
Daniel,
Here.
absent or Brandon.
It's Sonya here.
Sonya's here, didn't I say that?
That was.
I'm here.
Let's go ahead and do the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Mr. Wallace, would you like to lead our invitation?
Yes, sir. I will be glad to do that. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day we've had. We thank you for all the blessings you give us. We pray that you be with those that have been impacted by storms and things even in our own area in the last few days. And we pray for those that are hurting and have other needs. We pray for this department and our first responders here and other departments around our area. Just be with them as we serve the public. Amen.
Mr. Vice President, I make a motion that we change the order of the agenda and let Mr. Wallace go next because there's no reason to keep him.
We had an emergency.
Well, that too, but
A motion to suspend the normal order of business and let Mr. Wallace go ahead. And a second. All in favor? Mr. Wallace, floor is yours.
Well, I appreciate it. I didn't get the grand view, so, my wife off there a little bit ago. Not an emergency, but it's definitely something that we're
That's an emergency.
Well,
She dropped you off. It's not an emergency.
yeah, that's true. That's probably true. That's probably true. Well, I've got the audit for last calendar year. As you know, your audit, your finances as far as the IRS and all that goes on the calendar year. Of course, y'all bill and cycle and do a lot of operating on a fiscal year, kind of like municipalities do, the way your billing gets on the 1st of October. So that's kind of a couple of things I want to really talk about. Real brief on the letter that's attached, or the letter that you have with the document. That would just kind of cover any significant deficiencies or material weakness kind of findings that we would have had discovered while we were here. We didn't have anything, as you see there at the bottom, that we felt like rose to that level, and Mark was, got the banks reconciled and pretty good job with all that, and able to find, things we asked for, and just didn't have any real problems or deficiencies in that area. Most of our adjustments, if you look on the back, mostly kind of the routine stuff, receivables, payables, depreciation, some things like that. We did get updated depreciation from the other account, the 990, so we got everything just updated in there to make sure all that ties back together on your books with what they have, because I didn't get that till after we were home. So that's been done. The online program, again, reconciled your payroll liabilities, those things appear to be in good order. The remaining balance that we had from 2-3 years ago on this pre-2020 stuff that we tried to take a wild guess at, frankly. We collected the balance of what was that. So you collected, I think, 30-some odd thousand in the year. There was about 20,000 or so of that left on the books. So that went against the receivable. The balance still rode in income, but you did collect more than that. Everything collected henceforward is all just considered other income or recovery of bad debt, if you want to call it that. Really, it's just old fire dues. So anyway, that will be a little bit cleaner going forward in that regard. You did see a decrease in your cash balances during 23 of about 38,000, and y'all trying to do a lot of things with services and just some improvements and things as well. You sold some stuff, some vehicles and whatnot for about 87,000, which turned around and invested about 62,000 of that back in. So you've been a little bit higher cash flow deficit without that differential in there. Of course, some of the things you spent that differential on the turnout gear. There was other things in equipment and supplies and stuff that wouldn't necessarily capitalize on, but it was definitely things that wouldn't be
and then
added. So
we bought an additional vehicle that we wouldn't have bought if we hadn't sold the others. So
right. So all that you understand where you're at with that, and you're certainly in that time of year where it's the tightest part of the year when bill in October, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know in that regard. I did give a couple of y'all something I call an exit memo. I know Doug, I got one for you and Martha, and it just has the website for the Department of Examiners, because they want all these audits submitted from our governments and fire districts and things like that. So that's on there. Anything else on there we've really already covered, so there's nothing really added on that. Let me survey the report with you just for a minute, and then I want to talk about one or maybe a couple of items possibly. You get any questions, you can certainly hit me. So, but page 1 after the table of contents is just a 2-page opinion letter. It just says that we believe our statements are fairly presented. We're gonna use them for whatever purpose you want to, but we've gone through the audit, done the audit process, and we don't feel like there's anything significant to change in how we're doing it. Of course, we have it on accrual, so all these receivables that you have are setting on the books at the end of the year. If you look on page 4, which will be your first page of numbers, that would be, we call a statement of financial position in the fancy world. It's just an old balance sheet, it's really what it is. But you see the checking and savings account balances there at the end of December, and then the dues receivable, which, it hits the books October 1, and you're starting to collect, but obviously a lot of money didn't come in until later, and then there's a lot of money that's sitting out there that needs to be collected. So, but you add all that, you got your fixed assets, as I mentioned, that includes the new vehicles, the vehicles that were sold, things like that are all been updated and tied into those asset numbers. Down in the lower half of that, you just see accounts payable, payroll liabilities, this routine, normal quarterly, monthly bills. With anything that was unusual in that, and of course, I left the notes payable thing in there at 0, just to parenthesis, you've got no long-term debt, so at least you've got that maneuverability if you needed to do something. And then the rest of that is just net assets or retained earnings, if you will. Page 5 gives you the income and expenses as they're recognized. And you see assessments, government support, Tuscaloosa County and some other places, building services, fundraising, recovery, so forth. What you don't see up there at the top part of that is the sale of all those vehicles. That's down at the very bottom. We wouldn't consider that an operating income item. It's just kind of considered gain on sale of assets is considered other income. So, but under your expenses, just basic stuff, payroll related taxes, occupancy, which is a lot of utilities, insurance, depreciation is in there, so forth, vehicle equipment maintenance. Those are kind of your largest categories, things you would expect, and pretty consistent with the year before. But you did have a negative $45,000 on the operating loss side of that, which kind of corresponds pretty closely to change in cash. So obviously, if you kind of take from that, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Just we want to do obviously be able to be in a better posture to collect. If you could ever get into that tax bill, or it was on the tax bills, obviously that would become an automatic thing and greatly improve cash flow, because those bad debts are pretty substantial as far as people that don't pay, maybe they're out of town. I know you're all aware of that problem, so I'm not telling you anything new on that. So just from an audit perspective, when I look at kind of where you're at when I was here and then where you are now, of course I can stay in touch with Ms. Martha, but I know it's kind of that tight time of the year anyway. But October will roll around, and it will get a little better and then it'll finally ramp on up as more of that comes in. So, but if there's one thing you could do to get that assessment, where it was a tax assessment, I'd try to take a stab at that if you could, just for consistency and operating. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Mark and I talked about this a little bit, is your year end. It creates some confusion because I know you're trying to look at things more on a fiscal year cycle in terms of your budgeting and operating, because that's when you send out invoices and stuff. Yet your financial reporting's in a crisscross year, so if I go run a fiscal year report from last October right now, it shows that December depreciation entry in there. Make sure that that depreciation entry's in there for the full year, even though it's really not counting, it's really crisscrossing the year, so it's not exactly right if you look at it that way, so it makes it look a little worse than it really is, but, obviously still negative for the year. But I feel like the way you bill, and then certainly if you were ever able to go to the assessment anyway, if you're gonna keep it the way you have it right now, I don't know why we wouldn't consider changing your fiscal year end to be September 30th and run on a fiscal cycle like the cities and the towns and the county
Depending on
government.
which fiscal year, what?
You would run October to September.
Oh, September, okay. I didn't know whether you said December. or
Yeah, October to September. You're on December now, and
Yeah.
if you switch to assessments like through a county, collection like that, you really would want to do that, because you'd be on that same cycle with them anyway. But you're doing that in practice. So, I think, I don't know, Mark, you had maybe a possible concern about grants, or there might be some grants that ask for statements. I think most everybody I've got, they're usually comfortable that September. We do a lot of municipal stuff, but we also do like Green Pond and another private one or two, and I don't see anything that really impedes them from getting something because they're not on a calendar year, and you just send them the most recent September, and seems to never be a problem. Even some of the foundation grants and stuff, they still manage to get, but that's certainly something you can explore a little bit, just to kind of make sure, but it wouldn't affect your stuff as far as the
No,
county.
it would make it better to
It would make it
do it like
easier.
that, yeah.
I feel like it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would, cause, and they wouldn't mess with other grants.
It would help in that perspective.
Okay.
Because the problem with the grants now is we're going off of trying to switch it over to a calendar year, but it's really off of a physical year, so it would get everything lined up.
I agree. Well, we had to switch to a municipality that has an electric department, and the municipalities are all on September 30th, 99% of them, but we switched them to June 30th because they have an electric department run by TVA. Well, they mandate June 30th on TVA, so it just makes the financials a mess when they're trying to look at two different things going on. So what I would, I guess, propose to do, and I can look at for you, and obviously you can talk to Pratt them as well, but I'll look at it from our perspective, is I'll look and see what the process would be, as far as filing with the IRS. There may be a notice form we have to send in changing the fiscal year, but I think it's just pretty much rudimentary. And then all that would have to happen is you would go to a September 30th cutoff, even coming up. So you would have one short 9-month year this time, and then you would roll to October, and from here on, you would be on that same 12-month cycle with the city, county, your other partners basically in that regard are all. It shouldn't cost anything. And I'm assuming at this point, there's no desire, need, or want to change the building from October. Because I know you had moved it, you got it to October.
Well, the county does that anyway.
Which is why we moved it to October and to begin with. We used to be March, so.
So if you can ever get to that, if you can ever get that connected to the property, then you're already doing it. So it makes perfect sense.
That should be easy enough to handle the next,
Yeah.
members meeting.
But yeah, if you could find out whatever you said about what we need to do with the IRS part of it, that would be appreciated.
Okay. All right, I'll look at that and see if there's any potential hang-ups on there, but I'm not aware of any. I'll check it. Any other questions on that? I know it gives you a 12-month calendar year view of it. I think, from year to year, things are fairly consistent. You would notice if you went and dug in there a little bit on the cash flow statement, you'll notice that the revenue is not as high as what's on that income statement page, because you're dealing with that receivable. And when billings, when people are paying, if they're slower paying this year than they were before, that kind of stuff. So,
I just have a comment, I don't know if it's accurate, whether it's meaningful or not, but if this is an official document, Brandon Jones is the president.
Oh, okay, we have that.
Yeah, I got copies.
I don't know if that's,
No.
Oh, okay, it's changed.
Yeah, it was Daniel the last time you did it.
I got you,
I just don't know if it was from a legal aspect.
Well, what I'll do is I'll take I'll fix that in the
I think it's
PDF
dated
and
December,
Yeah, because I think just for the year that it's actually paid for, I was president for the year, it was the year of the audit itself, or the year that was audited.
Yeah, they were auditing the 23
Yeah, I understand that, but it's still dated June 25th, 2020.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Like I said, I don't think it means anything unless there was somebody challenging it, you know what I mean?
Well, what I would do is I would just probably change that to the current, since that's a letter as of current date. Sometimes what I do is sometimes what we do a lot of, and I don't know what I've done in years, we footnote who the members are at a certain date. The cities do. We're not required to do that. For what we send to the examiners, I might do that just that way it matches up with what we are. That's a good question. Good
Yeah,
point.
cause they will ask me that when we get the taxes.
I'm not trying to pick it live or nothing, but also under that same, you got Lakeville one here, and then here it's separate.
Well, the city's different than the fire department.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know.
The city's actually split.
I knew
Yeah,
you
it's
said,
split.
okay.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting thing, I don't know about cities in here, but
Crazy.
The city was originally one word, but it turns out there's a Lakeview, Alabama, up near Georgia, so.
yep, it's up
Yeah.
actually close to Chattanooga, up
Yep.
in that end, and,
So they had to change it.
the city here and vice versa have had over 10 or 12 years I've been associated with all of it. There's been a couple times money's gone the wrong way.
Oh, yeah, about $500,000
And yours,
worth.
this last time was, on your side of it was very serious.
Yeah.
Uh,
Luckily, the state made it right, or at least
Yeah.
as much as they could. That was a very nice one-time check.
So isn't the other Lakeview only like 1,000 people?
Probably something.
Oh, the one up on the
Like-
one up on Sand Mountains is a couple of 300.
It's only like I said, I think I'm pretty sure their town hall is like a single wide trailer, so I'm
We
sure
were,
that they got half
we were
$100.
quite worried
Big
when we
deal.
saw what had happened, and they had built a community center that y'all had been spent on their community center. The word we got back was that, well, they were getting this money, but they didn't know why, and so they'd been putting it in a savings account. And so when the state asked for it back, they gave it back.
That sure would have been funny if they had
Ah,
big old
funny,
event
sad,
center.
But anyway, well, if you got good questions, and, but I'll fix that one and email you the PDF, because I didn't send that to you anyway.
Well, the reason I said that, I mean, some of the grants we've got, we've had 2 or 3 different names over the years. And it presented a problem with some of it. That's really good.
Very well could. Well, that's exactly what we're kind of talking about. One time they got some grant money here that actually belonged to the other people, but it was like years ago, and I think it was maybe $20,000 or something. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was.
$20,000.
To them, okay, let me put it this way. So put it this way, that 20,000, if it was 20,000 to them, it would be like the 500.
Yeah.
Because they needed it. They don't have anything up on that. I know, I'm familiar a little bit with that area. It's just rural Sand Mountain stuff, so. But anyway, well, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I
Thanks,
left an
sir.
extra copy for Brandon, so. get him covered.
Fantastic, thank you,
All
Mr.
right. Y'all
Mr.
can-
Wallace. Good one. All right, let's go ahead and resume the normal order of business. We need the reading of the prior month's minutes.
Actually, I have two. I've got the
Two
special
sections.
call, yeah, I got the special call meeting, which y'all may not have, but I got it.
Let's start with the July Board of Directors meeting minutes.
And, meeting called to order by Brandon at 7:03. Prayer and pledge of allegiance was Brandon, members present, Brandon, Sonia, Daniel, Paul, Doug, absent were Daryl, and Mike Fisher. Daniel made a motion to go into executive session, second by Doug at 7:04. Motion to continue meeting by Brandon, second by Daniel at 7. Oh, that can't be right. I had to look at my notes.
7:14.
7:14, no, I think it was
I'm
later than
guessing.
that. What time did we finish? 7:56. I'll look on the video. Current board member has missed several meetings. Seat 5 position will remain open until members, meeting in October. Prior minutes, Sonia read the minutes from the June meeting. Paul made a motion to approve, second by Doug, approved by all.
It was
Trish?
approved with or without corrections.
I don't think there
Approved
were,
as is.
there were no corrections.
All right.
Paul made a motion to approve, second by Doug, approved by all. Treasurer's report, opening and closing bank statements were read by Doug. Motion to accept Sonia, second by Daniel, approved by all. Chief's report, was presented by Jim Bossert. What is his title?
Deputy Chief.
Deputy Chief. I'll add that. Emergency calls 102, Lakeview 93, Abernac 9, Lakeview year to date. 526, year to date, Abernac 65, year to date total calls 591. Officer 1 training completed June 7th, working on setting up 2 more classes. Truck maintenance 1303, both steer tires replaced. 1301, fuel line and filter housing replaced. No payments from fire recovery, but several runs submitted. No community or communication reports. Old business buyer for Becky Drive lots needs an extension to closing, will be August 19th. New business need to move money from savings to checking account to pay semi-annual insurance premium. Motion to move $11,000 to checking by Brandon Jones, second by Daniel. Approved by all. And then, Daniel made a motion to put proceeds from the Becky Drive sale in checking, second by Doug, approved by all. Public comment, Mary thanked the department for a job well done on recent incidents. Tracy asked to verify where the money from Becky Drive lots was going, is going to be added to checking. Brandon advised the dues increase vote will not happen this year, as it can't be within 60 days of a general election. Vote may be set up for next March or April. Daniel made a motion to adjourn, second by Doug, approved by all at 7:56.
We will entertain a motion to approve these minutes with corrections.
Make a motion to approve the
Well,
minutes for Chris.
And I will say as read, because I think that kind of encompasses the
Yeah.
correction needs to be made. The one about the board member's name was not mentioned, and we did not vote to remove anybody.
No, that's why I didn't.
That's why I said as read.
Yeah, I didn't. Miss Martha always fixes stuff for me, or she
Do I have a
types.
motion? Doug, did you make?
I can make a motion with corrections as read.
Support.
Motion and
I see
second.
what you're saying.
All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed?
Motion to approve,
Doug and seconded by Paul.
hang on a second, as read.
We do not have copies of those, special minutes here for everybody.
No, she just gave you two.
That's okay. I make the motion to suspend the reading of the special meeting minutes for the next meeting.
You want to come?
What's the board's pleasure? Do we want to go ahead and get those?
Let's
in?
get out of
Yeah, it'll
let's
take
do
like
that.
2 minutes to make copies.
This was before the last meeting. And before, when we put these on the website, cause I got two references to the things that you read, I wasn't gonna read all that again, but I will put those with these
Those
minutes.
should be attached
Yeah, attached,
as an exhibit, so to speak,
yes.
which that can be done with chief reports and everything else too. Martha? Let you go ahead and commence with the reading of those minutes.
Yes, meeting called to order by Daniel Griffin at 7, members present, Sonia, Daniel, Paul, Doug, and Mike. Absent were Daryl and Brandon, prayer, William Bean. Purpose of the meeting was to clarify and read the resolution to increase the fire dues. The terms have been reviewed by Tuscaloosa County Collection Office, tax collector, and I meant to put attorney on there. Daniel read the proposal. A copy will be attached to the minutes. A letter of intent outlining what has been discussed relating to what the fire district, county, and tax collector would be responsible for is needed. The county will collect the dues for a 4% fee. Sonia made a motion for the president and office staff to draft the letter. Mike second. The motion was approved by all. Catherine explained the process for getting all approved. Daniel did read resolution number 240708-1, also attached. Like I said, we will put these with the minutes on the website. Doug made a motion to draft the resolution, second by Mike, motion approved by all. Motion to adjourn by Paul, second by Doug, approved by all, meeting adjourned at 6:24. Other than adding my one little thing there.
I'll entertain a motion to accept this minutes as read.
Daniel.
In favor?
Yeah, aye.
Any
Daniel
opposed?
and Mike.
Carried. Moving forward, treasurer's report.
We're broke. Oh, I guess I'll give you more information. Checking account, we started the month of July with 18,773.53. We ended with 22,842.79. Our CD actually got some interest to it. We're up to 80,000. We started the month at 80,000. We're up to 80,967.34. Savings account, we started with 15,079.73, and we ended with 4,084.13. And the note that we did vote at the previous meeting to move 11,000 to checking. Our income for the month was 20,307.38, which is, if you look at all the months, it's about average, but it's down from the previous two. Expenses, we had 26,254.53, and nothing's eye-popping. It looks pretty much in line with previous months.
I see that. Significant. Looks like we collected a pretty substantial amount of back dues. Ain't not as much as May, obviously, but 4,500 ain't too bad. Because of the bank account balance, Martha has been quite aggressive with some collections as of recently. These predominantly, I'm assuming these are predominantly individuals, not businesses or anything of that nature. We have some big hits that came in.
Most of this was individuals. Next month we're gonna have some business.
Any questions about financial report from the board? Entertain a motion to accept it.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, you made the motion,
Made the
Daniel?
motion.
And who second?
Paul. All right, chief, floor is yours.
We had 110 calls for the month, 99 in Lakeview, 11 in Argonaut, year-to-date total 701. Training, we're hosting an apparatus operator poker class for the fire college. It's this week, 19th and 24th. Truck maintenance, 1303, had emergency lights and tail lights repaired by Force Performance. Fire recovery, we received $4,030.88. Working on completely free fire plans, should be completed by mid-September, and then we attended the National Fire Emergency.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you, sir. Moving on. Any committee reports? Any communications?
I do have some communications. This year, we are encouraging people to do paperless billings. There's a form online that you can go on. It does cost if you want to pay your bill online, but receive a payable invoice. If you just want a copy of your invoice PDF to your email, no charge. That would be a tremendous help because it is almost $1 to mail out each invoice, so we have so many people to say they don't get them. So that is already up. We're not emailing them out right this second, but the form is up. You can go ahead and sign up. So if you know anybody, please pass the word.
You sign up on the AQ Fire.
Yes.
Like you fired up org. Thank you. We've already had the auditor's report. Old business, the Becky Drive property. I have in my hands a request for yet another extension from our buyer. They're asking for an extension through the 21st of September. We sent along this letter from Timberline Homes of Clinton, to whom it may concern. Mr. and Ms. Willis had to have a perk test done on the property. Once perk test was done, they had to take to the health department and get a permit. Then we had to get bids for the septic tank so we could send the correct numbers to the bank. The loan will go to the appraisal department next week. Should be able to close by the 21st of September from Tammy Melanie, Finance Manager. It is my opinion, we are currently out of contract.
What was the original close date? I know we've extended it once.
The 3rd
Of July.
this month.
This month, okay.
3rd of August was the original close date, extended to yesterday, the 20th. Now they want another full month. It is my recommendation, both because I do have quite a bit of familiarity with Timberline. It's my recommendation that we sever this contract. Our agent does have several cash buyers who are interested. We were hoping to get an offer on it today, actually, but that buyer's agent has not sent over an official offer yet, but was working on it and was hoping to send us an offer today. My recommendation is we sever this contract and just send over basically send to the buyers, if you're able to get a cleared loan and everything is complete and the property is still available, we'll enter back into contract with you, but we're not going to extend and leave the property off the market in the meantime. But that is a decision for the board. Just based on what I'm seeing from this letter, they're talking about the perk test and all that kind of stuff. They've been at this for 2 months.
Valid.
Oh,
And they're,
it doesn't take that long to get what's necessary.
we can't read the future, but I'm not confident that they won't come back in September and want another extension.
That's what I'm thinking too. They didn't put it off this long, they'll come back with another, so I'm with you about severing ties with them.
And
Just get it.
we were really looking forward to that money hitting the bank account yesterday, I'll just say that.
It'll be,
So this is,
if we get a cash deal, we can at least close it in probably a week and a half, but it'll take some time for them to do due diligence. We could do that with a special call meeting should one come in. But any other input, Mr. Quick?
I'm just really rolling this around in my head about, is there a way that we could, if someone, meets or exceeds their offer,
We would have to redraft the entire contract to allow for that. To be honest, seeing like this is what I do for a living every day, I would simply just give them the assurance that if they come back with an approved loan, we'll go ahead and do it. That way they have a lot more incentive to put pressure on Timberline Homes to,
well, I certainly don't think that we should accept anything less than a full offer.
No.
that's entirely possible. We don't know what offers come in yet.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you got a potential here that could close on the 20th of September. I don't think that we should take a lesser offer and let that go by the wayside either,
well, if we did a motion, but everything he just said, but we'll add that, we'll just say without board approval, it has to be full asking price. Any new offer,
And we could do that way.
or a minimum of full
Well, that way
asking.
we wouldn't have to.
I think we have to accept, the board has to accept even if it's a full offer.
If we made the motion to where it can be accepted as long as it's a full
Yeah.
offer without board approval.
That's what I'm saying, I've included in this motion so we're covered, so we don't have to have a special call.
I was about to say, if you word it that way, and it's a full offer, you won't have to call a meeting.
Yeah, because that was the mistake we made when we originally did it. is we didn't-
Exactly.
And just for time, I would recommend wording it that way. That way, if we do get a full offer, we don't have to wait on a meeting, we can just accept it, get it back.
Yeah. And there's some ethical considerations too that go into, even if we do have a clause in a contract that allows for backup offers and you know, if an offer exceeds, there's some ethical considerations with realtors over that.
Happens every day.
It does, it doesn't make it ethical. Trust me, I've dealt with more than my fair share of unethical realtors, it definitely happens every day. So what is the, well, do I have a motion from somebody?
I don't know what we're trying to really accomplish here.
Now I'm trying to just get it all in words.
Yeah,
I make a motion that we, at this time, do not extend the contract, but with the stipulation, if they get their stuff in order, you know, we would entertain, I guess, re-entering into a contract with them. And I also, as part of my motion, that the board entertains any offers, other offers that may be presented,
Must be asking.
yeah, at least that are at a minimum of asking price.
Yeah.
Does that encompass everything we wanted to?
Make the motion that we, let me I'll restate the motion, if that's okay with you. Motion is that we sever this contract, we do not extend. We inform the purchaser that should they come back with proof of funds and approved loan documents that they can immediately execute, we enter into the same financial agreement in the original contract. President or vice president is able to sign any offer that meets or exceeds asking price. Any other offer must be brought before the board for approval.
I will second that
How many
motion.
days is on that contract that we have?
We're severed.
It's already.
We're expired yesterday.
But you just said you would enter into the same contract.
The same financial terms.
Okay.
So
The one-
I have the motion and the second. I'm gonna go ahead and clarify that just so that it's not in motion speak. Basically, what we're saying is this contract is null and void, it's dead. However, we will give them the exact same purchase terms if they come back ready to close. In the meantime, the property will go back on the market. Myself or Brandon can sign and accept an offer that meets or exceeds our asking price. Any other offer has to come to a special called board meeting for consideration. So that's the motion and second. Do I need a roll call or are we all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I will inform our agent tomorrow morning. New business. We have no new business on the agenda. Is there any new business that would
I have a
like to
few.
be added?
I have a few things that should have been on the agenda. Could we get a billing update from the office staff, please?
We're in the process of uploading 2024 invoices. We're trying to hold off till we get the website so that everything ties together. We'll start mailing them the end of September, but they're actually hitting in October.
Cool. We also need to be working on the budget for the new year. We probably should have been doing it before now. I take some responsibility for not beating that drum sooner. I think in the past, we've had some staff level folks that have gotten together to be able to present to the board. We definitely need to be able to present to the board by next meeting so it can go to the members meeting in October. I think in the past, it's been chief, the office staff, myself, and then it's been Brandon and or Daniel. I think it's fluctuated a little bit there. We still want that group, I guess, involved, or
Is there any other board member that would like to take place on that committee?
I think that's actually Brandon's to give up, wouldn't you think?
Well, it's just that.
Well,
make the
but
budget
he's-
committee, one of the two. It'd be either me, Brandon, and Doug. I don't think should be because he's been the treasurer for the past several years. I don't think it's wise to remove him from that committee.
I'll volunteer to sit on it as long as Brandon's okay with it. You know, I don't wanna step on his toes either.
All right, then,
I'll send an email maybe, I guess tomorrow to the said group and try to get the ball rolling on a meeting,
All right.
a staff meeting.
I don't think there's any need for any motion on that matter, but
No, there wouldn't be a quorum of the board.
yeah, just to send that out. I'll act as an alternate if Brandon is not available. Otherwise, Brandon, Mr. Quick, Mr. Bowyer, and office staff and chief can handle their budgetary meetings.
That's the only two things I have.
Any other business from the board?
You said you had one other thing?
Those are the two things, the billing update and the budget. I
Any
mean,
other
I know
comments?
they kind of go together, but they're two separate things.
Any comments from the board?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 7:40.